Allah for blessing me to be here this morning with you. I want to thank Allah for those who are attending for the first, second, or third time, and the Muslim brothers and sisters. And as always, we thank the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, who gives us an opportunity to help him in the work that I believe that God has placed on his shoulder. And I believe that you can be a part of that mission. And over the 83 years of the history of the Nation of Islam, we've proven that ability. We've had our bumps in the road, and we've had some setbacks, but Allah has blessed us to continue to go. When I travel around the country on this book tour, one of the quotes that I use is that, don't retreat. Take a quote from Sarah Palin. She only said a few intelligent things in her life. But now see, there's a group here that may not know who she is. And it just shows you about history and time. But she was the woman that John McCain chose to run as the vice president of the United States. And surely the white Americans had to look at him a little. But she said, don't retreat, reload. And I thought that that was a good quote. And they're gun enthusiasts anyway. But I'm saying it to us as a people, the conscious movement, and that's what it is. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad has brought you to consciousness because you were asleep. And so he gave you something that brought you around to yourself that the white folks would never give you. And so she's saying to the white folks, don't retreat, reload. And I'm saying it to black people that you can either knuckle under and just be a good Negro and hope that things will go all right and that, some magical way they're going to change. White folks will not change. And because there's something that they were fed from the time that they were born, children, generation after generation, that we be white folks. We be white folks, and we're better than black people. And when one of the comedians said on television that I'm glad that Trump, white comedian, I'm glad Trump was elected. He said, because I don't have to pretend to like black folks no more, see? But he was serious as a heart attack, because they pretend, how they smile at you when you go to work or you interact with them and so forth, and down inside they can't stand you because we intimidate them and we're not even doing anything. When they described a group of black men, 3 black men standing on the corner, they said, how many was it? I don't know, it looked like about 20 of them Negroes. So they feel intimidated. So my talk today is on the case for separation, and I'm so happy that the minister wrote an article in the paper about it in the current edition. But I want to cover a few things first. I was at this mosque, this same location some years ago, and maybe Minister Willie can tell me, how long ago was it out here, Brother Willie, do you know?
It's before Katrina.
Before Katrina?
Yes.
Y'all have BK and AK. That's how people in New Orleans talk. Before Katrina, after Katrina, okay? So that's the kind of impact that Katrina made on this city. But coming back and looking at this beautiful mosque and what you have, and I know that people will say, well, this is a mosque, we're in the people business, but people look at what you have and how you represent yourself is like getting dressed. And I must say that Brother Willie and his staff have done an excellent job. I mean, I walked around, I saw the sisters area, you got a place for conferences. I made a suggestion to your minister about using the mosque more and reaching out. I'm going to get to my subject, but be patient with me for a minute, okay? I just came from the funeral of Reverend Dr. Charles Corn in Cairo, Illinois, where the minister spoke. That's why I didn't get here Friday. I had to attend. But getting in your car on a Sunday morning, putting on your shirt or your bow tie and your beautiful dress, sister, and driving to this mosque to hear a lecture that you would say, hopefully, spiritually, it would inspire you to keep on what the Muslims call the mustaqim, the straight path. And Muslims are encouraged. They're encouraged through their prayers, their 5 prayers a day to Allah to strengthen them. You're in a hostile environment. Don't make no mistake about it, and don't stick your head in the sand. Trump has no love for Muslims or the Muslim world, and that's why he talked about he will destroy Iran totally. I mean, listen at that kind of conversation. And then you have a man in the White House who is a habitual liar. The count the other day was 4,229. Okay, and if you all want to put a scorecard, how much he lied, maybe their number is the number 6. You know, in the scripture they're called the people of the number 6, the devil's number. Maybe he's trying to get to 6,000 lies or so. He's on his road. But I was saying, to come to the mosque and to see what's going on in the community and not reach out for people, to me, is not the thing to do. You look good. God has saved you. Some of us came out of prison. Some of us came out of dope alleys. Some of us were prostitutes and this and that. And some of us were people in colleges and universities who felt we had a level of intellect and intelligence, but we didn't know ourselves. That was the bad part. And when you don't know yourself, you give over to other people. I just looked at a documentary of Dr. King. It's called King, on Delta Airlines. I don't know if anybody's seen it. Whoever put it together, it was about his last few days of life. And when you look at that documentary, you wonder that if they were involved and understood the conscious movement, bringing you to a level of consciousness, would they have made the kind of decisions that they made? Because surely King was showing that the power of love is greater than hate, and that if you get to the white man right, you can bring that love out of him. See, in my opinion, I mean, I respect King, especially in the last 5 years that the minister has really spoken on him and encouraged us to read about their struggle. But what King didn't understand, he didn't understand who he was dealing with, because he thought that all humans were alike. You say, we all came from God. We all bleed red blood. You tell that to some of them white folks who are preaching hate for us right now. So King didn't know what he was dealing with. And it was Kwame Ture, who had become conscious when he was at Howard University. For some of you, that's Stokely Carmichael. And when Kwame became conscious of the struggle, whether he was a socialist or not, whether he was a Marxist or a communist or he didn't believe in religion, he believed in the destiny of black people, and he thought by bringing them to a level of consciousness, he could change their direction. But we were so busy, and it's because it's in our nature to try to show love to everybody. Love everybody. Minister Farrakhan has said many times, God don't love everybody. And you say, well, why would you say that, Minister Farrakhan? Well, look at the Bible. Look at the civilizations that he destroyed and the people that he destroyed. Evidently, he didn't love them that much that he was going to save them. He destroyed them. So, but where I think that they went off path because they wouldn't give an ear to a man who had finished the 4th grade. They wouldn't listen to him. And the first thing he said is, you got to know yourself. But if you don't know yourself, you spend your time destroying yourself. You bathe your brain with alcohol. Your brain is pickled with alcohol. And the brain wasn't made to take that. You smoke dope and, do all kind of madness because you hate yourself. You eat bad. You don't take care of your health, nor do you take care of your babies. And so you don't have a knowledge of yourself. You're not a conscious black man. So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was preaching consciousness, where King felt that through the power of love and nonviolence, he would prick the conscience of white America and turn them around. Really something. It's a sad story. Because he struggled. He was a human being. When they made one documentary, they showed him smoking a cigarette. Why did they have to put that even in the film? Because those that made it want to know that he's just like the rest. He's no different. He may be a preacher. They highlighted the fact of some relationship that he had with women. They highlighted it, and they did it in a subtle, slick manner. They got Abernathy, on his book, his first book he wrote about the struggle, they talked to Abernathy, and I read it. They mentioned that he needed to mention that in the book to make it credible. But these capitalists who are after money, credible to them is that if they put it in the book, then the book would sell. And people want to know where was King, who was he with. Then you had a group called COINTELPRO, and I'm saying to our brothers, we don't have a real young crowd in here, but some people don't think history is important. It is very important. And so King tried, and God knows he tried. His last march, I hope you can see this movie because it shows some of their inner meetings. And they were talking about his last march that he planned was the Poor People March. But two things came together: the war in Vietnam and the Poor People's March. And there was Kwame Ture, Stokely Carmichael, who was one of the young demonstrators with him that was always working on King. You know, I can stand here and say it because when I moved to Ghana, when the minister signed me to Ghana to open our office, Kwame used to come over. He taught me my first African lessons, what to do and what not to do, okay? He showed me a lot of things, you know. He used his gray hair when Kwame started graying quickly. I guess that's strange. I found a solution to graying hair. Cut it all off, okay? So Kwame would give me my first African lessons. And Kwame would sit in my home in Accra, Ghana, and walk through the struggle. Said that when King wrote the speech that he delivered on April the 4th at the Riverside Church, I hope I have some of the facts checkers, I think it was 1967, and he was killed 1 year to the day later, am I correct? And so King, he said, Kwame was working on, he said, how can you talk about civil rights? How can you talk about human rights when America's over in Vietnam killing people, all over the control of land? It wasn't about ideology that if the communist North Vietnam takes over the South Vietnam, all of Southeast Asia will fall under communism and that's a threat to America. That's a bunch of what the brothers would call in the street BS. It was the wealth that was in the ground there, the control of that wealth, the control of the Far and East, holding countries that they can believe that they can hold China back. 58,000 young American, mainly men, died in Vietnam. Think of the figure now. That's the figure they give us, and it's probably much more. And what did they die for? They lost the war. They never say that in America, but they lost. So, well, why would you say they lost? Because Saigon became Ho Chi Minh City, and they drove the Americans out, running on helicopters and holding on to get out of there. America got his behind whipped in Vietnam. And one of the reasons was the people in America were demonstrating against their own government. And brothers, this history gives you an understanding of where we are right now. So they ran out of Vietnam. And the lives of many black men who joined the army because of a job. I mean, I was encouraged when I was young. When I wasn't doing well at 17 and 16 in school in New York, they said, well, why don't you just join the army? Because in our minds, we thought it was a safety net. I lived in this city in 1947 when my father was in the army. He was stationed at a place called Camp Leroy Johnson. I know they changed the name now. It's still there. And I remember Lake Pontchartrain. There was some steps going down to the lake where they used to take us fishing. I remember they tied cows in back of our house. I only went back to New York because my father was shipped overseas and he couldn't take his family with him. But that was like the destruction of his family. But I'm saying that all of these young black men who are not conscious, who are aimless, they think we're doing something wrong when we refuse to fight in this war. But we got our lead from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad during World War II when they arrested him. And he said that he refused to encourage his followers to fight for America. Now, I know some of you just love America. You think it's the greatest thing since apple pie and sliced bread. But I got some bad news for you. It's not, okay? So let's look at where we are. And I'm saying this because King found in his heart, I mean, he was really brilliant. I want you to think the older groups in here. He died at 39 years old. But he made his footprint that went throughout the earth because he believed that he could change the heart of a people's hearts that had been hardened by God. And he could not change their heart. And so the test of America, with 50 million of us in the country right now, is where will America go? So my subject today is the case for separation, but I want to go over a few things. First, I want to thank Brother Willie, and I pray Allah will bless him, support your minister. And where is Brother Willie at? Is he in this auditorium right now, or is he looking at me in the back? It's all right, it's all right. But let me just try to go through these few things. I won't be long. I think we should be finished by 8 o'clock tonight, okay? Because I was taught by the best, Minister Farrakhan. His short subjects are 3 hours. Most of them are 3 hours and 20 minutes. But first, I want to thank Brother Willie. And let me say this, Brother Willie. I asked, where was your picture on here? And your picture was not on here. But he's your minister. And when I was with him today and we went into a store, he saw a sister he knew when he got to the station. Your minister has to be known. I'm just saying it to you straight up. And though he may want to be in the background somewhere, you got to put him out front. Highly intelligent brother. Got this beautiful place. Put his picture out so the people of the city will know him. And when they get into trouble and they need deliberation and to talk over a problem, whether it's the police killing, drugs in our community, they call your minister to the table. He's conscious. He's got insight. Now, my tour about 5 years ago, or it may have been when I was in Ghana, I came back to America and I did 2 or 3 tours to raise money for the Ghana mission, you know, because you need money in Africa in order to do things. And I was encouraging every city that I touched, I encouraged them to do a history of the Nation of Islam in that city. So that when your children, your babies come up, they'll know that it didn't start last week when you accepted and became a Muslim, but there's a long history, 83 years of history. But the history of the city that you live in is most important. How did it take root there? So they put, I haven't seen it yet. It's about 32 minutes. I'm going to see it. Do y'all sell these, brother? Yes, sir. Okay. It gives you the history of the Nation of Islam in the city. And when he mentioned that they found a picture of Khalid, Dr. Khalid Muhammad, when he was at Dillard, that's where he heard Minister Farrakhan and decided to accept Islam. Khalid walked away from the nation. Malcolm walked away from the nation. But when you write the history of the nation, you can't write them out the history. You can't take history and say, I'm not going to mention them when they made an impact. One of Malcolm's daughter, the only one that I have a good relationship with, Ilyasha, she told me, Akbar, my problem is, and I think she mentioned it in Growing Up X. I'm not sure. It's an excellent book. And the last book that she just completed is Betty Before X. That's about her mother, Dr. Betty Shabazz. But anyway, she said, my problem, she was telling me one day in a conversation that y'all don't give my father credit for what he did when he was in the nation. It was difficult for us, but she was right. Because Malcolm opened a lot of mosques. When he came, 12 years, when he came out of jail, he was on fire. And God gave him the kind of mind that if you live in, then make a difference. I don't like to go to cities where the Muslims are in the city, but they don't make no difference in the city. People don't even call on them for nothing. Brother, come tell Brother Willie, they want you to come to a so-and-so meeting. And if Brother Willie, he doesn't answer this way, but if he answers, did they want me to speak? Say, no, I ain't thinking about those Negroes. I'm not going. That's not the position that you take. Even if you go there and shake hands, but they see that you are concerned because you're a black man and our people are suffering. So when she said that, Malcolm's 12 years in the nation, he was on fire. He did make a difference in the nation. And whatever happened to him that he stepped away from his leader and teacher, as we write the history, in the early days, I barely mentioned Malcolm. I never told people I was in his ministry class and I came in under him, because I didn't know how to manage it in my own mind, because my love was for the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And I thank Allah. I first met Minister Farrakhan in 1961. A year after I joined the nation, he came to New York to teach. And as many of you have heard me say, that Malcolm knew how to keep the mosque in New York packed. And they say, well, how did he do it? There was no magic formula. It was the time and history. Black men and women were searching. The brothers in the North didn't like the idea of letting white folks kick on them, call them names, and then spit on them and so forth, and in the name of nonviolent resistance. They just didn't like that. So black men and women were searching. I want to be involved in this struggle, because it is a great struggle. It's a struggle for our dignity, our manhood. It's a struggle for our life and our babies that God will bless us to bring on this planet. But I don't want to be in the struggle and do what they're doing. So that's why all of the nationalists and conscious movements grew. The Black Panthers and the rest of them. The lead wire to all of that was the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. So I didn't talk about Malcolm after he left the nation, and we had to rebuild the nation, especially in New York City, where they accused us of being involved in his killing. And most people around that don't study, they believe that while I'm standing here right now. But they're conflicted. They're conflicted because the voice of Minister Farrakhan has moved them, has stirred their soul, and they love him. But they got this conflict of how to manage his relationship with Malcolm when the enemy is accusing him of being involved in the killing of Malcolm. And that's because on February the 21st, 1965, Minister Farrakhan was teaching in Newark, New Jersey, right across from New York. And they try to tie it in that he was setting up the hit for Malcolm, which is the furthest from the truth. And the enemy spread it, and especially in the hip-hop community. The early hip-hop brothers like Public Enemy, he would mention on one of his tunes, he'd say Farrakhan is a prophet or something. And people who had never heard the name Farrakhan in the hip-hop community say, who is this guy Farrakhan? But they all know him now. So I'm saying, to get back to my point, Brother Willie, you have a great opportunity in New Orleans, and I would hope that the believers would help and support you in that. I know you need money. And that's why we have to be business people. When you read the history of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, when he left Mecca under duress, he didn't want to leave Mecca like some of you don't want to leave America, but you're going to leave America under duress because this white man is getting ready to put you out. What he's doing to the Mexicans, he got you in mind for the same thing. Especially the ultimate right-wingers, that's what they got in mind. And if they go by the Turner Diary, they may break up and give us a piece of America, give the Jews a piece, and they take everything west of the Mississippi. And these white boys are serious as a heart attack. I mean, you look at the gun lobby and so forth of what's going on, and they got their man in the White House. That's what they said. We worked to get him there because he was speaking our language, so he speaks to his base. And we're in the middle of this, even though you don't see yourself. I don't know what the 50 preachers who went to see him or so the other day, I didn't follow it. I was traveling. And I'm a news junkie, so I tried to keep up, but I didn't get that one. I'd like to know, what did they talk about? Was it a session like Lincoln and the Negroes? There's a book called Lincoln and the Negroes. And Lincoln was trying to solve the problem of black people in America. Brother Willie, that would be a good, I don't have a copy of it. I can't quote it exactly because I didn't read it. But Lincoln was trying to figure out how to solve this problem. It wasn't just freeing black people, because he knew that if we stayed here, there would be a perpetual problem, and history has bore him witness. Because we are a perpetual problem for white America. 3.5 million people in jails and prisons in this country. Most of them are black. They try to tone it down, just 65%, but I don't believe that. It's a new form of slavery. I got passion for those brothers. Especially the brothers who are rotting in jail that soldiered with us in the Panthers and the Revolutionary Action Group. Muslims all in jails across the country. These are political prisoners. But if you're not politically astute, you don't understand it. These are men who went on the front line, the Black Panthers, for the defense of our community. And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad told Minister Farrakhan, because we used to have little clashes over ideology and the corner that they were going to sell the Panther paper or we were going to sell the Muhammad Speak. We clashed with them. One of my good friends who was a Panther from New York, Brother Lumumba, was killed in this city over some foolishness on a street corner. And he's the one that helped to raise Tupac. He was from New York, from my neighborhood. So I'm saying to you that we have to look at this. And you in the city of New Orleans, this could be a great city. And it's not that we want to just proselytize you. We want to save your life. And saving your life is not that we rescuing you from you drowning or something, but saving your life so you can clear your mind out. Get all of the fog out of your brain. I can understand you say dealing with this white man every day, I got to go home and get drunk or smoke some dope. I gotta pop a pill or something, because dealing with this is hell and you don't even realize it. Brother asked me on the radio this morning about the difference in Africa. And I say, well, one difference, I don't have to deal with white folks. I mean, they're there, but I don't have to get up every morning and be challenged. I don't have to go into office and get some cheesy smile from some white folks who I know hate me and wish I would drop dead right on the spot. There's challenges in Africa. It's not a bed of roses, but it's not the kind of challenge you have here. So going back to my point, I took the scenic route. Brother, may Allah bless you. This is important, the history. I wrote a note today about history. I'm going to try. You know, when you get my age, I'm a senior now. One of my good brothers in New York, Dr. Cologne, here's Dr. Cologne. He grew up in the neighborhood that I grew up in, New York. He supported the Minister Savior's Day year after year. He was a professor at Howard University. He was a professor that knew my daughter when she was at Howard University. And he was here at Dillard, right? And but he's a conscious brother. And all of his struggles in the university was about consciousness. Some professors, they're our color, they're our people, but they would rather keep you dead and say to you, I got mine, talking about their degrees, you have yours to get. So the best thing you can do is just knuckle down, be a good Negro, and we'll give you that degree, and then you go out and work in the white man's world and be successful. And your success is measured by those 2 cars you got, chicken in every pot, and a big 60-screen television in your room, and fine clothes that you can go out and buy and show off for other people. That's not your success. Your success is in your people. Your success is in the people who have suffered in America for 463 years since we put our souls on this soil and came here to build America. What can we do for them today? How can we direct our brothers? The brothers out there, guns in their pocket. The brothers were telling me about the horrific killing down somewhere on one of the streets, 3 people killed. So many black people are killed in America, you don't even hear about it. You don't know what's going on in Chicago. If I asked you the 18-year-old brother who was running from the police that was shot in his back in Pittsburgh a few weeks ago, the day after I left Pittsburgh on my tour, most of you wouldn't know their names. The man that was gunned down in Miami because the white folks passed Stand Your Ground law, and the law was passed to kill black folks. If these Negroes mess with you, arm yourself with a gun, buy you a gun and shoot them and we'll clear you. Trayvon Martin's killer, Zimmerman, he was cleared completely. And the man that shot just last week, how many know about that horrific killing in Miami? See, be truthful, how many know? 4 people in here know about it. But the man went into a convenience store. He parked in a handicapped spot. His wife and his son. And when he came out of the store, there was a white man cussing his wife out. Cussing her out. And he walks out in the middle of that. What would you do as a black man? You say, well, we're peaceful, sir. She made a mistake parking. I really parked it here. You know, I'm sorry and whatnot. And he's cussing your wife out? What kind of man? That's what the black woman is looking for, a man who will defend her, a man who will stand up. So he did something simple. having no idea that this man had a gun in his pocket. You got to read this story. Get the Miami paper and read it. So he just pushed him down. The man fell down, drew out a gun, and if you look at the film, you'll see that the brother backed up. And as the brother's backing up, he shot him. The brother ran in the store, his son ran in with him, and he dropped dead right there. That's the killing of a black man. And most Negroes sit at home at night and look at the news, and they flash all of these black faces. This store was robbed, this person was shot. How do you think that that penetrates the mind of white folks sitting down looking at this? Our country is in trouble because of these black people. Then you got Negroes who say it all the time. In St. Louis and Ferguson, when I was there during the time of the killing of Mike Brown Jr., they say he must have did something wrong. The ones running from the police, he must have did something wrong. Take Mr. Scott in Charleston, South Carolina. How that police, and you saw it. It wasn't that, somebody told you about it. They filmed it. The brother is running because he got a broken tail light and he didn't pay some alimony. He owed some money for child support. So he's trying to get away from the police as you would be on the plantation trying to get away from the white taskmaster. You can't sit at home and say he must have did something wrong. See, you messed up. You need to embrace the black man. If he did something wrong, did he deserve to die? Did Mike Brown Jr. deserve to die because he strong-armed some cigarettes to put his blunts in? What do y'all call them? Cigarellos or something. Did he deserve to die for that? So, but it's going on all over the country. But what they do is isolate your thinking. And one thing that's happening, bear with me. We're gonna get there in a minute. I'm still working on Brother Willie right now, okay? One thing that happens is that as you get involved and think on struggle and things that you can do, they begin to move you out of the city into these nice houses with a white picket fence and nice green grass, okay? And as you move away from the inner city, the money that it costs you to live there, some of you got 2 jobs, some even 3 jobs. You're driving Uber, doing this and that. Also, you can take care of that cell phone, that cable bill every month, that mortgage note, those 2 cars that you got, take care of your children and things. You ain't got no time for organizing for no struggle. The time you get off the second job, you so tired, only thing you want to see is a bed and a glass of wine so you can go to sleep and get ready to do it the next day. Ain't no time for no conscious struggle. So he got you going and coming. So we got to make a difference. I chose Islam as a young man. I thank Allah. I was trying to count up to make sure my count is right. I've been to 154 countries in the world. And on the African continent where I lived for 12 years, I've been to 44 of the 54 countries in Africa. I lived here in Ghana, and Minister Farrakhan had me as his ambassador to all of these countries. And then the minister's trips around the world, Allah blessed me to be the one who organized the trips because I knew the world generally more so than a lot of brothers, not just knew it by study, but by visiting those countries. So going back to what I'm saying this to you because New Orleans has an opportunity. And it's not that we're proselytizing. If you're a Christian, be a good Christian. If you have no religious preference, that's your business. But if there's something that the Nation of Islam offers you in terms of consciousness, and there's things that you want to clean up in your life, I used to describe it as a young Muslim, that the brothers in the ranks, what we call the FOI or the MGT, that you lean in either way, and those 2 help to hold you up. They give you strength. If you got a pull that you want to go back and drink that alcohol or, and so forth. But the brothers hold you up. They show you that you don't need to function with alcohol. My father was a functioning alcoholic in the U.S. military. And by that, I mean on the weekends or even some nights during the week. But he usually reserved it for Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. But he would always be up in the morning on time. He was a functioning alcoholic. And he died at 63 years old, alcohol, heart attack related. 63, that's really young. But there's millions of black men and women in the same shape. So, Brother Willie, y'all have an opportunity, and take advantage of the opportunity. And in some places, ministers who help Minister Farrakhan don't have the capacity of your minister here. That's not their field. But he's broad in his view. He can see the things that need to be done. So let's organize and do it. And what it is for the sake of our people. The key to Minister Farrakhan, and people can feel it in him, is he loves black people. White folks don't love him. You can tell by what happened with Netflix. I was talking to the minister, so we're going to wait before we talk about it. I'm going to talk about it just a little bit, but bearing witness to what the minister has been saying about the power of the Jewish community and their influence in Hollywood. When that Jewish rabbi picked up a phone and called Netflix and asked them not to play Minister Farrakhan documentary, it shows right there. It was a witness to what he said, their power and their influence. And what is it about his life and music that they don't want people to see? What is it about? This is about music. It's not political, it's not talk, it's about his music, his journey in life through music. And they don't want the black community to see it or the world to see it because they would have a different opinion of it. So, brother, I hope and pray that you do the history, and what you could do, you know, a minister speaks, you know, give you an example, and some people feed you the feeling of the mosque with those who have never heard the teaching. The brothers who come out of jail, their real test to be a Muslim is not in jail. The test is when they hit that street. There's a dope man on every corner. There's the women that he had been missing and so forth. So his real test of whether he can be a Muslim is when he comes out. And many of the mosques around the country are made up of brothers who came out of jail. They dominate some of the mosques. But there's a whole nother group. And so the brothers who are in the street, there's a group of brothers here who know street language, can talk to them. But also there's a group of brothers here who know the college campuses, who know the brothers and young sisters who are on college campuses. They're studying and so forth, but they can come and be fed at the mosque. So the beautiful rooms you have downstairs, the ability of you to reach out to people and be proud of this place that you have that represents the Nation of Islam in the city of New Orleans and the surrounding area. So I pray Allah will bless you with it, and so help your minister, you know, and he's not, I'm in charge, do it my way or don't do it at all, you know. I mean, he's not that kind of brother. I don't know him to be like that. We need to hear from people. I told him today when we were talking about the clash of civilization. Thank you, good job if they can do them like that. Thank you, brother. The clash of civilization, that it looks like it was just a book written. And you know what I wanted to get, brother Willie? I wanted to get the date that it was published. I think it was after 9/11, I believe. Oh, you'll find out, thank you. And, but the book was put together by a think tank. And in every mosque, you can have a think tank that is inclusive of people in the street that see that there's a certain problem. And you have to pinpoint, you got your specialists that deal with the homeless. I mean, some brothers in some cities, it's nothing against what they're doing with the homeless, but it's the path of the least resistance. The homeless want some food, so you go down and offer them some food. You say, this is your breakfast, but if you want lunch and dinner, you got to come to the mosque. And I was in one city, and the whole row of guests were homeless. A couple of them were sleeping, you know, and I mean, we want to save them, but maybe what you should do is set up your talk where they are. That's all you have to do. And as they begin to clean up, because we have brothers and sisters who were homeless, heard the teaching and straightened up. But you make this think tank inclusive, and people who have the problems of the community in the forefront of their mind. What can we do to do it? We can do it. It's not hopeless. And we feel that we got a method that we can do it. But it doesn't mean that we're not open to other methods, other ideas. So that book, The Clash of Civilization by Huntington, is a book that was put together through a think tank because they saw a problem coming to America in particular because they know history. All the civilizations, go back to ancient Egypt, Babylon, go to these civilizations that exist, the civilization, the Chinese civilizations, India, all of them rose. Rome is the prime example, the rise and fall of the Roman Empire and things that Rome did when she was on her way out. And if you went to universities, you studied that. And they didn't study that so you would just know what happened. They studied it so it could give them a lesson for today and how to handle things. One thing that Rome did that's happening right now in America, they're hiring foreign soldiers and they're offering them, you know how they hire them? We'll give you a green card. Join the army. And I'm saying this because I know it to be an absolute fact because of the amount of Ghanaians from Ghana who are in the U.S. military. And for some reason, the Army and the Navy and the Marines like Ghanaians. I don't know. And one reason I can see, they're very loyal people. And all of them want to get to America, but Rome did that. But it was the beginning of the end of Rome. Rome's army was spread out throughout the world. Their legions were everywhere. They were the best fighting force. They had more money. They built canals and this and that. But Rome came down because of the internal rot of the Roman Empire. The senators arguing with one another, all of the misbehavior, the homosexuality, and all of that brought Rome down. And Rome fell never to rise again. So America is on that path. And so you're in the midst of it. And we believe, you don't have to believe it, but we believe that we are God's children. That's right. And that we've been chosen by God. Yes. And so we become the saviors of the black world. That's what we believe. Yes, and so in New Orleans, you have an opportunity to do it. So on my tour, I was about to say, as I went around the country, I encourage each mosque to have a group of brothers and sisters to write the history of that mosque. And use it for your children if you're starting a school or you have a Saturday school or for the new believers. And the history of the development of that mosque, as brother has done with this piece, okay? And being that he is the thought behind it, then his picture should be there and he should be known. And because it goes outside of the circle. I appreciate your humility, Brother Willie, but this is strictly business. You got to take care of business and you need to be out front in order to take care of that business. So let me go on. I'm going to cover a few things. I'm here on a book tour. I haven't talked about my book yet. And what I would like to do is cover a few things that I want to talk about. And then at the end, God willing, we're going to take some questions, okay? Minister Farrakhan was in Cairo, Illinois yesterday, and a brother who was in the struggle. And I'm going to tell you quickly how we met him in Atlanta, Georgia, at the Congress of African People in 1970, September. We were in New York, and as you know, the 5 years since Malcolm was killed, 1970 made 5 years. And it took a lot for us to rebuild the credibility and respect for the nation, and especially in the conscious community, the nationalist community, because down inside they felt that we killed Malcolm. And so it's hard for them to come to grips. But 1970 at the Congress of African People, that was headed by two people mainly, Amiri Baraka, Leroy Jones, some of you know, and if you don't know him, read about him because his son is now the mayor of Newark, New Jersey, Ras Baraka, and a brother named Haywood Henry. Anybody know that name? Or do you know him by M. Tangalizi? Okay, who was right here from New Orleans. And after AF, after Katrina, okay, he moved. He's living in Houston, Texas now. So they were the main driving force behind this great conference called the Congress of African People in Atlanta, Georgia. And so they had worked out for a workshop with Dr. Ben Jacobin or Johanan, however you call him, Reverend Charles Cohen from a little town on the Mississippi River called Cairo, Illinois. He had hooked up with the Deacons of Defense who came out of Louisiana and what is it? Okay, they came out and he joined up with him. And he believed heavily that preachers need to shoot back a little. All these black men getting killed, and he felt that these preachers felt if the white man knew that they were armed, and that if they, in their language, if they F with them, they were going to deal with them. So he was one of them. So he was in a workshop, Dr. Ben, and they wanted Minister Farrakhan in that workshop. So I, as the minister's assistant, we didn't think that was the proper spot for the minister. So we lobbied them. We negotiated. You know, you don't get mad and take your marbles and go home later for them Negroes. You negotiate for what you want. And so we negotiated that the minister should be one of the keynote speakers at the main lecture. It was on a Saturday night. And that I would take the minister's place in the workshop. That's how I met Dr. Cohen, in that workshop, with a Bible, with a cutout where you can put your gun in it and close the Bible, okay? He didn't see no conflict in that at all. He said, we'll be the arm of God. So that night, would you bear with me for a minute? Let me tell this story. That night, and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad called the minister in before the speech and told him how to handle it. And that night, the gym was packed. And everybody who was in the conscious struggle, as well as politicians, was in that auditorium. I said, I thought it was the Morehouse, but it's Brown. It's one of the gyms. I have to get that part of the history right. They tore it down since. I know that Sonia Sanchez, the Republic of New Africa, everybody in the conscious black newspaper, they were there in that gym that night. And so a lot of people were not happy, but the decision was made. Jesse Jackson was sitting there that the minister would speak, and they were not happy. So they had a little entertainment, and it was Jerry Butler, the Iceman. And the mistake that Jerry Butler made, and he works for the city of Chicago right now, if you asked him about that night, he said he could never forget it. He had a white boy in his band. And people loved Jerry Butler, but they booed him off the stage, okay, because of the white boy. Because this was the time of heavy black nationalism. You know, this is the time of the afros and the dashikis, you know, and so they booed him off. So next they bring up Whitney Young. And Whitney Young, now this is a highly motivated crowd, and they saw Whitney Young as capitulating to white folks to get a few dollars. Beautiful brother. So he was sweating, and it was hot in the gym anyway, but he was up there sweating, and they started hissing him off, you know. And the sense was there were people in that audience that wanted to hear from Farrakhan, somebody who would rock their soul. And after he cut his speech short, may God bless him, he drowned off the coast of Nigeria, Whitney Young. And you'll need to look up these giants who worked in the movement that the young generation don't know because we haven't told them. We need to have sessions like they do in Africa. In villages in Africa in the evening, the children are compelled to sit around the tree. All villages have big trees in them. And the elders, somebody like me, I would go and tell them about where their tribe came from, their names and so forth, their encounters, the strugglers. And this would be etched in the minds of the children. We don't do that. Matter of fact, our children in the street, most of us are afraid of them. They're all on the corner, you know, got crack pipes in their back pocket, hair looking long and crazy, pants falling off. Hell, you get on the other side of the street. But those are our babies. We got to step to them and say, look, we're going to have a session tonight. Say, what y'all going to talk about? We're going to talk about Negroes. So the minister got on that stage that night, and he lit that place up. Out of that, how many know Sonia Sanchez? Okay, Sonia Sanchez, that speech that night, Sonia Sanchez came in the Nation of Islam. And a whole lot of other people that joined the nation. And they saw the nation as a viable force for change among our people, bringing them to a level of consciousness. And even brothers and sisters who joined the nation, there's millions in America that have walked away, you know, they want to do something different. That's their personal business. But what they learned in the Nation of Islam sticks with them. I have found very few that have walked away from the nation and went to the grocery store and bought a bucket of chitlins, okay? Or some pig ears or pigtails. And if you ask them, what's your religion? They say, I'm a Muslim. Because it's in there. I'm going to talk about that for a minute. So I wanted to say to you that Reverend Cohen was one of the brothers who started in that struggle, and he was consistent. He fasted for 40 days in St. Louis. The St. Louis police beat him merciful. They were very racist there. And they put him in jail in a hospital room with his shackled to the bed. And his wife and his children and brothers in the struggle tried to get him to eat. He refused. He refused. And finally, they released him. A doctor named Mitchell and Dr. Spencer and a doctor named Dr. Blunt, who spoke yesterday at the service for him. And I'm mentioning him because don't let your warriors die. There's a brother here in New Orleans who died. I wish I could call his name. Okay, it's a senior moment. But he was an Afrocentric brother. He took a lot of people from here in New Orleans to Africa, and he was involved in Africa. What's his name? Jeff, right? That's right. He knew M. Tangalizi and Yasalam, who used to write the poet. Salamu, that's right. These are conscious brothers in New Orleans that gave of their time and some of their lives. But there's a whole generation that don't know them. But if I asked you the latest Jay-Z tune, you would know that. I'm on a sacred mission. I'm on a sacred mission to put a map of Africa in the homes of all black Americans. I get the maps from Africa overseas. We got a big supply coming in next week because I really on this tour sold out. They say, does it make a difference? Of course it makes a difference. Geography makes all of the difference in the world. Because most black people, I said, well, if I had a world map up here, and we sell world maps, if I say, go to the map and point to me the city that Putin and Trump met in, Helsinki. If I send you to the map, very few of us could go to the map, go right to the country and point to it. If I told you to find North Korea, where we got this problem, and they went to Singapore, the leader of North Korea and the leader of America met in Singapore. If I say point out both of them on a world map, most of us, being honest with you, wouldn't know. One thing I have to thank God for with these Jews is in New York, I went to schools controlled by Jews. Dr. Cologne, you know that. But they did teach geography. So you know the world. And when you know the world, you have a desire to see the place, or when you hear a news report. When you hear a news report, you can picture in the world where it's located. So the maps of Africa to me are important. This is where we came from. If I ask somebody to name me 10 African countries other than South Africa and Egypt, maybe a few may say Morocco or Libya, or a country in West Africa, the Gambia or something, but you generally don't know that much about Africa. There's what you call the unknown Africa. I'm gonna give you an example, Niger, where you wouldn't know it, a lot of you, but for that black soldier getting killed on a mission that most of us knew nothing about. Nobody that I knew, except they were inside intelligence, knew that there were 1,000 American soldiers in Niger. Other than 4 of them got killed, one of them was black. The mother the wife couldn't see the body. It was a long time before they brought him home, and there was a controversy over it, and the controversy brought up the country Niger and the fact that 1,000 American soldiers were there. Question you have, what were they there for? That's right. Well, say, well, we were protecting Africa against Al-Qaeda in the Maghreb. This is called the Maghreb, all of this area here. And otherwise, if you took Trump before that happened, say, Mr. Trump, because he don't listen to his briefers anyway, could you go to this map and point out Nigeria? He would probably go right to Nigeria because the name is so close. He'd probably go to this country right here. Then someone said, oh, no, Mr. President, it's Nigeria. It's this country up here. So black people don't know. And so a map like this in your home, all you have to do is take that picture of Jay-Z and Beyonce and move it over. Or even better, move the one over with the Kardashian girl and Kanye West. Yeah, I didn't say you have to throw them away, okay, if you just want them on the wall. But in between that, put up a map of Africa so little Kwame or little Muhammad or little Aisha can go to the map of Africa and say, Aisha, point out Egypt to me. Egypt is in Africa, Daddy. This is Egypt. They learn something about where they came from. Because if Trump keeps going the way that he's going, that's where we're all going to be in a minute, okay, if you're going to live. Right. Now, to those that want to stay here, that's your business. It's all right. You know, we're still your brothers. We expect you to bring back and forth stuff and all this money you earning under the white man, help us to develop in Africa. 4 weeks ago now, I got back from Liberia. And I tell you, I've been to Liberia many times. But this was my best trip because I learned so much about the slaves that were sent back. And I learned about the divisions among the indigenous people. Here's the little country right here on the west coast of Africa. Can y'all see this map over there? Okay. Also, I want to mention the maps will be in about 10 days or less. And if you want to get a map when you come to the table, Brother Talib, the brother that works with me, will give you a form. You can fill it out. You pay for the map, we will mail it to you. If you don't get it from us, come and report me to Minister Willie, and he will take care of me and make sure you get it, okay? Right here, this little country of Liberia, 4 million people, and it's about equal that amount of Liberians in the diaspora. And it's rich. So this time I went to a place called Grand Bassa, and it's where the first slaves landed. They landed in two ex-slaves. Landed, and they landed in 2 spots. And when you want to do some reading, I believe that the Encyclopedia Africana by Henry Louis Gates and Anthony Appiah is online. If not, order one through Amazon or eBay. It's an excellent book, a little dated now because it's over 15 years old, but it has excellent information on Africa, and there's a section in it on Islam, because of the impact of Islam across this continent. But if you want to read the American Colonization Society, see, this is what Lincoln was talking about. They wanted to do an experiment to find out how many wanted to go back home. And a lot of them opted to go back home. I know when you think of going to Africa, you think you're going to have to get in there and cut down some trees, you know, and all of that. Because when I first moved to Africa, brothers and sisters would come to me, well, Brother Akbar, how is it in Africa? Can you handle that? And then they would ask me, like, things that you do. I said, well, when the plane lands, I get to the door of the plane, I get my 2 machetes, I cut off the head of a snake. I said, then I jump on the back of a zebra and I ride to my house. Because that's how you think. And ask your question, where did that thought come from? Came from white folks. Just the same way that white folks didn't want you to know about Martin Luther King and his involvement in Africa. Right. They don't want you to know. I'm in big audiences. I say, how many in this audience, and be truthful now, never knew that King went to Africa? Okay, and this audience right here, why is it that you don't know it? You know about the April 28, 1963 March on Washington. You know all other aspects. He went to get the Nobel Peace Prize, but you don't know that he went to Africa. And the professors and the teachers don't talk about it. But the miracle of the internet, and the thing that I love about Dr. Martin Luther King, he wrote down his speeches. He reduced them to writing, but he didn't deliver a speech like this. And we as a people must go up this mountain, and we must do this. We must show love to white folk. No. He delivered it with strength and feeling, okay? and he wrote it down. So his speech that he made when he returned from Ghana, he went there March the 6th, 1957, on Ghana's independence. He came back to the Dexter Street Baptist Church in Montgomery, Alabama on April the 7th, 1957, and he delivered a beautiful speech about the hope, how he was impressed, and how he encouraged black Americans to help on the African continent. This morning on the radio, I mentioned the Blow for Consciousness by Michelle Obama, when she stood on that stage at the Democratic National Convention and said, I wake up every morning in a house built by slaves. See, some of us scratched our heads because we didn't even think about it or even know about it. And then white folks, it was a wake-up call for them. Here's the house of the most powerful political figure in the world. And it was slaves that built that house. See, and did we teach our children that? They say, how did the White House get slaves? Did the government own slaves? No, they jobbed them out from the slave owners. They went to plantations that had skilled craftsmen and women, paid the plantation owner in order to build that White House. See, now when you teach your children like that, you're helping them with consciousness. But if you're in the street running after a dope bag and trying to see what you're going to stick up or how many women you can get pregnant or lay with, you don't have no time to teach your babies that kind of history that will strengthen them as they grow up as men and women. So let me go on. So the maps, they will be available. I'm sorry that I sold out. Also, I want to mention that Black Panther. Now, because of an FOI, I suggested something to him, and he took another suggestion. The Black Panther tape that I made, it's a DVD, and I can send them to Brother Willie. And what is important about the Black Panther movie? Some people didn't like it. I loved it. I loved it because it brought a level of consciousness to black people about Africa, number one, this fiction and so forth, the dress. And in it, they had different things that relate to contemporary issues right in that movie, okay? The brother talking about the one who would be king, the father having another son that the inner family didn't know about. I mean, it's us, you know, it's us. You know, Papa was a Rolling Stone, but it's the nature of, it really is the nature of African men and what we suffered in the lifestyle. In most of all of Africa, before the white man put his foot on African soil, polygamy existed. And is polygamy a bad thing? Women, no women that I know just love polygamy. Some women say, I accept it because God gives the man the permission to do it. But look at all of the prophets in the Bible. But that was in the picture. Then there was a group in Mali. How many heard of the name Dogons? Dogons, okay? Do we have any African brothers or sisters in the audience today? Okay, none. Where? Raise your hand. If you, everybody say, we all from Africa, Akbar. But if we have some brothers, I want to recognize them. And the relationship with the African community is a must, and Brother Willie is going to work on a program to get the African brothers to interact with us. It's not that they don't like us. Don't follow the white man. Matter of fact, they're the ones that sold us in slavery anyway. See that? That's not your talk. Where did that come from? That came from white folks to help you keep divided. That came from the same white folks that wouldn't even tell you that King went to Africa and made a great speech on his return of how we need to hook up with Africa. That inspired him. The same people that said that planted the seed. Is it true? Yeah, a lot of Africans involved in the slave trade, but you got to know the circumstances. Slavery always existed, but nothing like the chattel slavery in America, where this type of slavery robbed you of your name, make it against the law for you to be educated, rob you of religion, even stop you from beating drums, wouldn't allow you to even learn how to swim because they knew if you knew how to swim, you could escape the dog by swimming in the river. See, this kind of slavery never existed before, where you empty a man or woman out completely of their humanity. That's the kind of slavery we suffered. So I just want to mention that Niger is a rich country with uranium and so forth, but there's 54 countries. There's contention about Western Sahara. which may become the 55th nation of Africa. But I want you to look at the map, and on the way out, you can get the map. Also, we just passed out a flyer. I hope you would read it later. I want you to have it before you leave. This is about Ali Hershey, her name is, Ayan Ali Hershey. She's a Somalian woman, born in this country right here, where Chevron found tremendous oil. That's why it's in complete chaos since 1991 when they overthrew the leader, because he bucked at America. And you'll know the story of Black Hawk Down. You probably saw the movie. And she came from this country. Quickly, I'm going to give you, I'm going to digress because you got it in your hand. And there was arranged marriage, and arranged marriage exists. The Western world make it out it's terrible. They arrange marriage for women. You should be free to fall in love with whoever you want. Who in the world would be in your best interest but your mother and father? So arranged marriage is a part of African culture, not only among Muslims. They go and they examine the man. I mean, the Pakistanis have a saying, they said, we don't have force our daughter to marry anybody. She can marry anybody she wants. He's a Pakistani Muslim. If he's an engineer, a lawyer, a doctor, see? But what they're saying that we're going to look out for her best interest. We're just not going to send her out shopping and just meet some man somewhere. We want to know his background. We want to meet his family. We want to find out if there's people who are mentally challenged in the family. In other words, nuts. And if whether it goes down. So they're looking out for your best interest. You want to make sure that the man can take care of you, that he got a job, and that he has a level of intellect, that he's intelligent, or he's in school strengthening his intellect. Because breeding children is important. I don't know how I got there, but anyway. But in Africa, that exists. So I want you to read. So there was a prepared marriage. She's supposed to leave Somalia to go to London to meet the man that the family had selected. The family would all go there. So her plane stopped in Amsterdam. She got out and claimed political asylum, that she was being forced to do something that she didn't want. So she stayed in the Netherlands. She went to school, ended up in the parliament in the Netherlands. And then one of those Muslim-hating Dutch people brought it up to the parliament that she wasn't legal in the country, this and that. She had to leave, and she came to America. America picked her up. She's right now at Stanford University, and she's an apostate. She don't believe in Islam anymore. But the important part about this article I want you to read. The article is closed out. I think it was in the Wall Street Journal. Is the Wall Street Journal published it? Well, most of us don't read the Wall Street Journal, okay? Because most of us don't have the level of businesses, so the Wall Street Journal is a paper catering to the business community. But she closes that article out. When you get home and read it tonight, I want you to analyze it. She said, the greatest threat to America is dawah. Who knows what dawah is in this audience? Okay? Okay. Somebody give me a definition of dawah. Go ahead, my brother.
Inviting people to Islam.
That's right. That's what dawah is. She said the greatest threat to America. She says because with dawah comes Sharia. Sharia is some kind of mystical thing. These Muslims got Sharia law. It's the law. That's all it is. You call it law, they call it Sharia. But that's what she said. And so when I read that, it really struck me. Because if there's anyone in America, any group of Muslims that do dawah, it's us, the Nation of Islam. We want to increase it. We call it fishing. But it's going after our people for them to hear, that's all. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said it real beautifully. He said, my responsibility is only to deliver a clear message. And when you get that message, you do with it what you want to do. So she's written 4 books. They put money behind her. Do you remember the man, Salman Rushdie? Okay, Salman Rushdie wrote a book called Satanic Verses. It was published, and he mentioned Minister Farrakhan in the book. It's a novel. But in this novel, he attacks Islam. And so the Ayatollah Khomeini, when he was alive, and saw what this man who came from a Muslim family said in that book about Islam and wrote it as a novel, he put a fatwa on it. Anybody know what a fatwa is? He put a decree. In other words, he put a hit on him. He said it was he said it was halal to take his blood for what he said. And so he had to have somebody to follow him around. He had to have security. Who paid for it? Who pumped him up on television and made him known, just like they do with her? And she wrote these 4 books. She's at Stanford. You can Google her and look her up. And she has to have, and they mention the security in this article. And they made her, so they put her on television to attack Islam, to attack women who cover their hair as Muslims. Okay, so you have to understand that. So let me just finish. So Black Panther, the doggone people in Mali, in this country right here, most of you know Mali because there was a great Mali civilization, and the man that made Mali known in contemporary times was a Muslim named Mansa Musa. And Mansa Musa, and see, when you get one of these maps and you're talking to your children, you point out the country, you say, this is the country of Mali, it's in West Africa, the capital is Bamako, and in this country is the city of Timbuktu. I can't see it. Timbuktu is right up here. I've been blessed to visit Timbuktu 3 times, Minister Farrakhan 2 times, and 1 time I went with another group. Mali has some people called Dogon. When Islam spread under Nasser Musa, I believe I'm saying his name right, out of Saudi Arabia, crossed into Egypt. A lot of Egyptians were Nubians, especially in the southern part, and moved through Libya, Algeria, Morocco, before they went into Spain and stayed 800 years. The Muslims also went down into Africa. And when they got to Mali, they spread Islam. Mali is like 72% Muslim right now. But there were people called Dogons in this area. They didn't want to accept Islam. So they went up in the mountains, mainly in caves, to keep the onslaught of the Muslims from affecting them. And so when you went to see Black Panther, and go see it again, and sometimes see it with your children, you know, you can stop the video and look at it and let the children ask questions, because there's a lot of learning curves in there. The people that were making that noise, whoo, 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 and came down out of the mountains and wanted to, these are the Dogons. But the Germans studied them, and they're very scientific. They clock the movement of stars. They're unbelievable. Read the German research on the Dogon people of West Africa. And so in the film also you see the beads. In West Africa we have day name beads. I'm just sorry that, you know, on the tour things sold out. They kind of surprised us. But day names, like if your name is Kwame, you all know that name. Kwame is Saturday, I believe. Is that right, Brother Talib? Is he in here? Kwame is Saturday, you know. And they have Yah, women's and day names. So in West Africa, if you were born on a Tuesday, I was born on a Tuesday, and say my mother gave me the name Akbar Muhammad, the people in the village of my family would know me as Kwabena. Kwabena means this boy was born on a Tuesday, okay? And they have it for each day of the week. But in that picture, you notice they had beads on. If you remember, some things you may not have noticed, you know, too much, but they had beads on, and the beads had power. So now you see a lot of brothers. Any brothers got some beads on in here today? Okay, brothers and sisters, you got wear those beads, and it's a part of African culture in reality. Then you saw in the picture there was some women with their heads wrapped like Muslims in the truck. That represented the girls who were kidnapped, they say, by Boko Haram. See, and the Boko Haram boogeyman, because somebody's supplying them. Somebody's giving them new uniforms and those vehicles. They not manufacture no uniform. They don't have no business set up. Somebody is financing Boko Haram to wreak the kind of madness, kidnapping all of those girls. But in it, you saw the girls, and they were speaking Hausa. That's the language of northern Nigeria and most Muslims in West Africa. But the film is absolutely a learning curve. Wakanda, a rich country with gold and minerals that the Western world wants. And they want to seduce the leadership of those countries so that the Western world can have this powerful mineral that they can rule the world with. So it's a learning curve. So when you look at the picture, it's not just the great battle. I tell the story when I talk about it, you know, the white boys, I guess down here in Louisiana too, but the truckers on the road, Our brothers who drive over-road trucks, they can help me with this. In the old days, you had breaker, you just had the two-way radio. And the white boys have names for us. They call us porch monkeys. Anybody heard that term? Don't act like you never heard it. If you haven't heard it, ask your daddy about it, okay? So porch monkeys, because we hang out, okay? So, and then the other name they had for us is what? Somebody tell me. Jungle bunnies is one. Spear chuckers, okay? So when you go see the Black Panther movie, it's the ultimate spear chuckers. Those sisters, those bald-headed sisters, they were talking about how their spears could stop a tank. And when you see them as warriors, okay? So when white folks call us spear chuckers, say, yeah, we are the spear chuckers that you saw in that Black Panther movie. And so I just wanted to mention that, the name. And the last thing before I close my subject out, I want to go over a few more points about separation, is travel to Africa. In everybody's seat, did they get one of these cards? Okay. The cards is two things, to let you know we have more trips. On the bottom of one, you'll see a phone number, and we will give you, Brother Willie, did they make copies? They made copies of this? Okay. Okay, you have enough copies for everyone to get one? So on that card about the trips to Africa, on the other side is my book. If you're going to buy a book today, and I hope you will support our effort, the books are $20. We take swipes, we take checks, of course we take cash, but the food debit card, we can't use it because we're not selling no food, okay? So, but you can use those means to pay for it, unless the brother got some bean pies out there he wants to sell, okay? Then the last two things I want to mention to you, and then I want to close out my subject on the separation. That going to Africa, you have to look at business. And Brother Willie, one of the things we can do on one of those Wednesday night, we can have a business seminar here at the Mosque. Brother Yusuf Muhammad out of Houston, Brother Earl X out of Vegas, and myself. I talk on doing business in Africa, and we should do business. The African leaders, I would hope that they make a statement. The UN opens next month in New York, getting on Trump's case about calling Africa a S-hole. And they were not strong enough, in my opinion. You got to be strong with Trump. And if he see that you bend because of money and you don't open your mouth, then he uses that. But one thing that happened as a result of my living and serving Minister Farrakhan in Ghana, West Africa, I have dual citizenship. And we first got dual citizenship from Gabon and the Gambia when we were on our world tour, and the presidents gave it. So this is my American passport, and this is my African passport that is good in 16 nations directly, and then all over Africa. I can arrive in the country without going somewhere to get a visa, and they give me a visa on arrival. So from Mauritania used to be a part of ECOWAS, but Mauritania opted out to be a part of the Maghreb nations, or the Arab nations in the north. But from Senegal all the way down to Nigeria and the Cameroons, which is very popular, I don't think Equatorial Guinea, the only Spanish-speaking country in Africa right here. See, and you can say to your children that this is a Spanish-speaking country in Africa. The only other place that they really speak Spanish is in Tangiers, and if the Western Sahara or Spanish Sahara becomes a country. So the passport is a tool, because with a dual citizen passport, you can do business as a local person. There's certain businesses that are only given to their own people. So in Ghana, like taxi cab drivers, transportation, hair care business, that's for local people. But if my sister had one and she wanted to go in the hair care business, she had a dual citizenship, it facilitates that, okay? So that, it's a tool, not just for you to put on your refrigerator, put some tape on it and look at it. I'm a dual citizenship. And you say, well, what is the qualifications, Akbar, to get it? First thing you got to do is visit Africa. It's better to see Africa once than to hear about it 1,000 times, okay? And you should have this kind of desire to put your feet on African soil. So I just wanted to mention that. Let me go over one more thing. In the Bible, I'm going to go to the Bible and the Holy Quran in my closing. Brother Willie, could you step up here a minute, please? Give me Abraham 14 and 22, 14, chapter 22. I want to read this verse from the Quran. You know the story of Moses.
22.
Yeah, when the matters and the devil. Yeah, okay, thank you. The story of Moses. And in the early days in the nation, this was used by the ministers. We used to teach on it. That Moses was raised in Egypt. He got the learning of the Egyptians and so forth. But when he came to himself and realized that God had appointed him to do something, and that was to lead his people out of Egypt. Anwar Sadat, the president of Egypt, the black president of Egypt, who was brutally assassinated, when Walter Cronkite asked him that question about how do you feel sitting here under the pyramids and that the Jewish people built, he said, we have no history of that. We don't know nothing about that. That's a Bible story. But it's not a Bible story about that happening so many years ago. But it's a Bible story about us. That we want to integrate into Pharaoh's house because we feel that's the ultimate goal. To be a part of his system, to be respected as a human being. So we want to be a part of him. So we beg him and we ask him. But according to Scripture, Moses didn't come and meet with Pharaoh and plead with Pharaoh, let us integrate into your society. Let us have some of your daughters, your white daughters, you know. Let us become one with you. But he pleaded with Pharaoh to free his people and let them go. This is the case for separation. You may not see it right now, but those who love research, go back and get the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's early papers. And one of them is really beautiful. It's in color. I think it was drawn by Eugene Majid, his great cartoonist. And it has the Honorable Elijah Muhammad at the bow of a ship. And the ship is pulling off the shore, and our people are there, and there's policemen beating them and sicking dogs on them, and he's beckoning them to join him. So in the Scripture, Moses pleaded with Pharaoh to let his people go, free my people, and let us go into a land of our own. There's, and I'm going to conclude on this, there is a few ayats in chapter 14 called Abraham or Ibrahim in the Muslim world. And for those who don't know much about the Quran, do y'all sell Qurans here at the mosque? We can, okay, you can order them here. And I'm just going to do a little thing at the end if you'll bear with me. Here's how it reads, and it's beautiful. It's beautiful when you know it in Arabic also. It says, and the devil will say when the matter is decided, surely Allah promised you a promise of truth, and I promised you, then failed you. And I had no authority over you except that I called you and you obeyed me. So blame me not. This is the devil saying to you, so blame me not, but blame yourselves. I cannot come to your help, nor can you come to my help. I deny your associating me with Allah before. Surely for the unjust is a painful chastisement. Beautiful, beautiful verse. And I want to say this, that with the Holy Qur'an, you know, there's always this controversy. We argue over really small things. What hadith are you reading? Where did it come from? You know, the time that we spent that, we could have saved a few black men and women out there in the mud. But the first Holy Quran, according to the reading of history, translated into English by a Muslim. There were other Qurans translated into English and European languages. The first one was in the 11th century in Spain. Then the Spanish had a vested interest because the Muslims had occupied Spain for 800 years. They translated the Quran into Latin first, before they even translated into Spanish. Then there were other English people who translated the Quran, but their knowledge of Arabic, you have to know Arabic to make a credible translation, was limited. So in 1917, a man who was a follower of Ghulam Ahmed, who started the Ahmadiyya Muslims, named Maulana Muhammad Ali, who was a scholar. Most Muslims are on the surface. Minister Farrakhan used to say to us in New York, I hate surface dwellers. You on the surface, any way the wind blows is the way you go. But you got to dig deep down and plant your roots to be stabilized. So he translated Maulana Muhammad Ali into English. He spoke Urdu and he spoke Arabic very well. Then he put Allah in his translation. But the Muslims felt that Islam will dominate the religions, all of them, though the polytheists may be adverse, when Islam is accepted by the Europeans who were ruling the world. Look at that. They had no thought of us. So in 1934, a man named Yusuf Ali translated the Holy Quran, and he put God in it. And so I used to sell, I owned a bookstore in New York, so I know this history very well. Because in the bookstore, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, he said both of them. Matter of fact, when you see the Honorable Elijah Muhammad in the picture with Imam Muhammad and the big Quran that they're holding there, that he's holding, that Quran is a Yusuf Ali Quran. So when Imam Muhammad came to the leadership of the nation, they discouraged the Muslims from reading the Maulana Muhammad Ali, which is a better English translation. It really is. Not just because he used Allah, but the wording in there, you know. These who buy error for guidance, so their bargain brings them no gain, nor they got it. It's an ayat in the Quran. That's the way Muhammad Ali says it. Yusuf Ali said, these are those who exchange error for guidance. Okay, you see the difference in the word. And a lot of things for the English reading person in America. But what happened is when Ghulam Ahmed died, there was a split in the movement. But you know, people in the West don't know nothing about that. Some people say that the Ahmadiyya Muslims were started by the British to divide the Muslims in India, because it was all India at that time. Pakistan wasn't created. And so when he died, there was a split in the movement. That's why when you read Maulana Muhammad Ali, you don't see nothing in there other than the printer and so forth that talks about the Ahmadiyya Muslims. You don't read no tafsir where it talks about Ghulam Ahmed or anyone else. So I just wanted to mention that. I want to thank you very much. May Allah bless you. Assalamu alaikum. Allahu Akbar. Okay, brothers and sisters, this month coming up is Marcus Garvey's birthday. And Marcus Garvey, in the struggle, you know, he was calling people to go to Africa and so forth. He was born on August the 17th. But what is interesting, who knows what city he was deported from when he, okay, who said it? Okay, New Orleans. Okay, so that's a fact that you know, when you talk about Marcus Garvey, the government arrested him and deported him from America. And it was internal dynamics. And a little snitch who was reporting to the government because they think that the white man is powerful. Don't let him break your principle. I usually don't tell this story, but I'm gonna mention it here in New Orleans today. When the law arrested me and they charged me with mail fraud, that's what they charged me, and different identities. I mean, I sat down there, I said my prayers each time I went in, and they questioned me. They pulled out a long sheet, and they wanted to know I was born with what we call a slave name, Lawrence Prescott. But I had this name, Kareem Aziz, that the Imam gave me. And then when the minister started rebuilding in '83, the minister asked me to wear Akbar Muhammad. But I had perfect credit, and so I bought some houses. And they took me and said that, well, you were using different identities. And you fill these forms out and send them through the mail. That's mail fraud. So I had to go to court. I had to get me a lawyer. I ended up with a white lawyer in St. Louis who was well known. And everybody was telling me I had some brothers. They said, if you want to get off this charge, you better get that white boy. Some brothers could be there with him. So the minister was in the court the day that they were going to sentence me. But here's what they did. Right as they built it up, they came to me with an FBI agent. I'll never forget his face and his name. A white Hispanic in his background. Gonzalez was his last name. So he came in the room, and they tried it 2 times. They came in the room. They say, look, Mr. Prescott or Akbar, whatever you want to be called, see, that's derogatory. He said, we can make this whole thing go away. You got 23 charges, you're facing 25 years. We'll make the whole thing go away. All you have to do is help us with this. And they gave me a picture of Assata Shakur. They said, you go to Cuba. Do you see her? I know they're snitches, tell them. I said, yeah, of course I see her. Because she's my sister. She grew up in my neighborhood in New York. She grew up in the New York, the project. What do we call New York Boulevard projects? What is it? Jamaica housing. So she grew up there, in this area where I grew up. I said, yeah, of course I see it. They said, when you go see her, what do you talk about? For those who don't know, this is why you got to read about those in the struggle. How many of here do not know Assata Shakur? Don't know her at all. Okay, there's a book called Assata. Y'all got a black bookstore here, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you need to read her life. They arrested her on the Jersey Turnpike. She belonged to the Black Liberation Army. And a policeman got killed. He may have been like the one in the Mosque in New York when he saw them brothers running down that step talking about, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. He thought it was a voodoo chant. He shot himself and then they blamed us. So she was arrested. They charged her. Here's the book. Thank you. Excellent book. And it's about her struggle. So they said that if you help us to get her, we will make all of this go away. So then he says to me, when you see her, what do y'all talk about? I said, we pray together. I fixed this behind real good. I said, I'm a minister, we pray together. And then as a minister, whatever we talk about is our business. You know, professionally, ministers do not talk your business. If you got a minister that talks your business after you go to him, he's not a good minister. He doesn't understand his profession. What you tell him is sacred with him, and he's trying to help you to solve a problem in your life. And it's Islamic, it's right. You bring in a third person to help you to bring the balance to a problem that you're trying to solve. So anyway, that's what I told him. And I told him, at that time I was 67 years old, I'm 76 now. And I told him, let me say this. I told him, I said that I would rather rot in jail. I said that I've spent my life in this struggle, and that sister is a part of this struggle. For me to go and wear a wire because I don't want to go to jail, and you threaten me with 25 years, I said, just put me in jail. See, I called him on it. And then I was blessed to get a judge, Minister Farrakhan sitting there in the court, a judge who went on the Million Man March. And I had organized the St. Louis delegation to the Million Man March. We had more planes and private planes than any other city. And in the court hearing, I don't know why I'm talking about this today, but let me tell it anyway. In the court hearing, he held the letters up. Letters from ambassadors and Dudley Thompson and people that knew my work, a letter from Minister Farrakhan. And the judge held it up. He said, did you see the stack of letters? He's talking to the prosecuting attorney. You see the stack of letters? Have you read them? And the prosecutor said, yes, you know, all arrogant. And he said, I'm giving him 5 years probation. And all praise is due to Allah. Then after I did the probation, which is terrible, you know, it's like reporting to the slave master, but I was a good boy. I went on time. I was blessed with a probation a probation officer who loved history. So before we talked, I always give him a little history. You know, I give him a history of this. And then I brought him some books on George Washington, but he told me I can't take gifts from, you know, I can't take gifts from the client. So my point is, don't capitulate. Reverend Charles Cohen, the brother that the minister did his funeral yesterday, he told me when he was in jail, the minister sent me to see him. He's my brother and friend for a long time, and he told me that they have snitch factories. Brothers, you get caught up in some street stuff, and one of them was right outside of Memphis, Tennessee, a federal place, where they ship you to different prisons. And Charles Cohen told me, this is nothing but a snitch factory. They call it a transit center. But they bring them in and they offer you deals. You're getting ready to do 10 years. We can either get you half of that and get you off free, but you got to give us something. That means that the brothers in the street that you know are engaged, especially in the drug business, snitch on them and we'll get you out. And even some of them that snitched and got out tried to put a good cover on it. And I listened to them. I needed to try to clean that mess up in the neighborhood. No, you wasn't trying to clean up nothing. You were trying to save your raggedy behind from going to jail for 10 years and you snitched on your brother. And the reason I can stand here and say it, because one of them that was putting in the witness protection program, somebody brought him to a mosque one Sunday. I was teaching there in St. Louis and he accepted Islam. Then he was in the mosque about 2 years and he came to me and said, I'm in the witness protection program. I used to be a mule for one of the big drug cartels. And he ratted them all out. And he said, I want out of the program completely. I went to Washington with him to speak to his handler, his officer who handled him. And boy, they cussed him out, told me to get out of the building. They said, you must be crazy. And what they were saying, that if you did this, opted out, we'll just go tell the cartel where you are and let them come and knock you off. That's what he was saying to them. So I'm saying it to any young brothers in here. When you get into trouble, be a man. And I mean, I can't say I wasn't nervous, but Allah blessed me, my hands didn't shake one bit. And I kept calling on them. I'm sitting in the room, they got you behind a glass thing. You in there, there's 3 people, my lawyer and 2 of the agents. There was 3 agents this time, because an IRS agent was in there with a big gun on her hip. But behind that wall, they had a whole battery of people. And I'm telling this, I'm saying this and exposing my personal business to you, because I don't want to see the young brother. You got to take it to your son, the young brothers in the street, because they want to strip you and put you back into a form of slavery. And that's what that prison system is. So I just wanted to mention that, brother, one of the brothers, come, brother, give this, because I don't want to forget my brother. I'm giving the obituary of Reverend Cohen to Dr. Cologne. There he is right there, brother. He's right there, okay? So I want to thank you very much. I'm going to do 2 things. How many are here for the first time, never been to a meeting? Praise be to Allah. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I want you to come back. Brother Willie has some very ambitious programs that he's going to handle here, and you can learn more. And knowledge, when they say knowledge gives you height, it just gives you a little height so you can see further, things that you didn't know before. And that's what knowledge is about. And we hope that you will come back and visit him. And those who are here for the first, second, or third time, and you should try us. As Trump said, you ain't got nothing to lose, okay? You ain't got nothing to lose. And when we get on your last nerve, that same door that opened up to let you in, you just walk out. There's thousands of people who've been through this experience. But they learned something that has helped them in life and their pursuit for happiness in this world. They learned something right here. So give yourself that opportunity. We'd love to have you, but if you don't want to do it, that's strictly up to you. So if anyone would, I'd like to shake your hands, and Brother Willie and the secretary will tell you what to do and come out to the classes that we have. Those who love, I know a lot of brothers love martial arts so that they can defend themselves in the street. We specialize in it. That's why when you see the brothers walking together, there's a certain little walk with them. You know, you want to know whether it's arrogance or surety, okay? So anyone who would like to do that today, I'd like to honor on behalf of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan to shake your hand and welcome you, and the brothers will tell you what week you can come out. Look at the class, weigh it carefully, ask all of the questions that's on your mind. If Brother Willie or the captain can cannot answer the questions, they can get them to Minister Farrakhan. So does anyone would like to do that who is here today? Thank you very much. I'd like to say, any sisters would like to do it? Now, I want to say to the brothers, hold it 1 second, my brother. I want to say to the brothers and sisters, I don't have a baptismal pool up here where I'm going to baptize you and say you've been saved today. But I want to shake your hand and thank you very much. Anyone else? Thank you. Let's give him a warm round of applause. Okay, we got a sister. Two people came on here. Thank you. They're gonna give it to them. Okay, so now I'm gonna take a minute. The books are on sale downstairs. What room is the books in?
Downstairs in the front area.
Okay, so brother, this is the brother you'll see when you go downstairs. Don't forget, if you like to order some African maps, he'll tell you how to do it. They will give you some information. Only thing I did not make up for him, Brother Willie, but you can do it, is this article in the New York Times about Minister Farrakhan. I'll give it to you. You can make a copy so the believers can read it, okay? What I'd like to do, he will be down there. There's one thing I didn't mention in my lecture, and I hope, Brother Willie, I can send you some of these books. It's called A Negotiation, written in 1983, and it's negotiating about separation. I'm going to tell you what it is right quick. There was a referendum in America. It was a troubled time like it is right now with Trump in the White House. And they called a referendum because things were so bad as the relationship between black people and white people, of how many black people wanted to separate. And everybody knew that the Negroes were going to vote to stay with white folks, quite naturally. But when the referendum was over, overwhelmingly, black people voted to separate. This is a novel now. This is a novel. There's little raunchy areas in there with sex and whatnot, but there's they mentioned Muhammad quite a few times. There's a brother in the story named Sam Muhammad. So then they had to find somebody who was going to negotiate with the American government for our separation. So it's in the future. At that time, there was an airport in Lake Michigan. They found somebody in the Midwest, in Chicago, really, who would negotiate with America for separation. But this novel, imagine, written in 1983, and I'm going to try to get some copies. I know the publisher. I've been trying to wrestle him. He got the book sitting there. They've been there for almost 30 years now, just sitting in the corner. And so he might as well give them to Akbar Muhammad, being I'm going across the country talking about it and promote his novel. Okay, so I'm going to open the floor for questions, okay? I may not be able to answer, but if I don't know the answer, I have Brother Willie here, and I have Dr. Cologne over there who will help me out, okay? Any questions? Yes, my brother. Wa alaikum salam. Yes.
And so could you elaborate on that a little more? Receiving mail or sending mail?
Yeah, well, anything that you send through the mail, documents, okay, if they're not right or if it's illegal in any way, they can charge you with mail fraud. That's what they charge Marcus Garvey with, mail fraud. But the thing is that we're Muslims and we have Muslim names. And I had a firm position when Imam Muhammad told us all to go to court and get our names legally changed. I said, did the white man go to court when he shackled me with his name? That was my position. But they used that against you. So if you're doing legal things, I had a home. I bought a home for my mother. I bought a home for my ex-wife. And I had a home. That's 3 houses. And I had them in different names, so I sent the information. Some were in Akbar Muhammad and some were in Lawrence Prescott, my slave name. Just giving you the background so you don't get caught in that trap, because they would love to do that. The name of the game with the private prison corporations is to put people in those cells so they can make money. So that I'm giving you the details, and when I give it to you, I'm giving it to you in what not to do. If you're going to do some legal thing, and they've been knowing you by Salim Muhammad for 15 years, then you have to go and get it where it's recognized in the court. Otherwise, you'll be standing in the court being tried with either mail fraud or some kind of fraudulent, using two names and so forth. That's what they do. Okay, you're welcome. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
I had never heard or thought about when you said that Donald Trump went through the same thing
Right. Right.
So you're saying, or you're seeing that he's going to try to get us out of this country, or drive us out of this country?
Yeah, he'll make it so hot that in America in difficulty, because if he plans a war with Iran and he's going to try to recruit, they may reinstitute the draft, and these young brothers are drafted into the army to fight for America and to fight and to kill Muslim brothers abroad. That's problematic. And all you have to do is look at where Trump's words, I should say, about the Hispanic. They're murderers, they're robbers, they're rapists. That's what he said. I mean, outright. And he made no apology. Then at the end, he said some of them. But he indicted a whole group of people. Then when you look at, you saw Roots, you look at Kedzie, that name was Kedzie when she was sold off to another slave master, and the separation of the children and the anguish of the parents over their children being separated. That's what he did to Hispanics. Then he put ankle bracelets, where in slavery they cut off our foot. That's why Kunta Kinte couldn't run no more, because he was a Mandinka warrior who could outrun any white folks. And but they cut off his foot. So on the Hispanic, they put ankle bracelets on. But you have to see the tie-in. So what I'm saying, that Trump, they want America, when they say we want America great again, they want America white again. And when they say again, it was great when you had us in slavery, that's what made it great. So you just have to look at the sign. The will of God will not be frustrated. God wants us to separate. And Trump may be the vehicle to bring it about. And nobody is under any pressure to go anywhere. Stay here with him. That's all. That's all you got to do. Thank you, my sister. Okay, any more questions? Yes. Wa alaikum salam.
Good morning and good afternoon. I'm Sister Zakir Muhammad, and I'm here visiting from Jackson, Mississippi. I don't really have a question per se, but it could be a question. Dr. Akbar, I met you in the early 2000s.
Okay.
You came to the Robinson Center we have there in Jackson. And I met you at the time. I was so very elated and impressed with such a beautiful Muslim man. And I see the same thing today. Also wanted to just basically express that we have in Jackson, Mississippi, I'm not sure who's aware, but we have a Muslim museum there. It's headed up by our sister, Okola Muhammad. And we also have a Muslim brother, his name is Ahmad. They have beautiful history that can support us and help us in learning more about our culture and what we are and where we came from. And the beautiful gifts that we gave as Muslims, as Africans, and the information the brothers gave to today, I know as a witness because I do work at the museum from time to time. So I know what he's saying is true. And I'm looking forward to hopefully seeing everybody come to the museum. And, we got to get on board. We got to do what we got to do.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Very good. Good to see you, my sister. I want to say that on my tour, I'm going to Jackson. I was just waiting to see where we were going to have our anniversary of the Million Man March. And with your Chokwe Lumumba's son is the mayor now, right? And I was overseas when Chokwe died and they had his funeral, and I couldn't be there. He's a longtime friend of mine. But her name is Rashida. She got remarried? Okola Rashid. That's what I know.
Very strong sister.
Very strong.
In the struggle for
That's
time.
right.
She also worked, she was also a member of the provisional government, which our
Yeah.
Mayor Chokwe, the senior Chokwe.
That's right.
Was very, very.
And Mario Badelli?
very- Oh, yes, very much so a good man.
Right.
And Allah blessed me with the opportunity to work for him. I got a chance to meet the family, got a chance to be invited to the home. They were such, and still is, such down-to-earth people. They're not
Right.
uppity, so to speak. They're not arrogant. They're not pompous. We're kind of intermarried there, relationship-wise. I have two children that are also like, they're cousins to
Right.
marriage and things like that. So it's been a beautiful
Right.
experience.
So before you leave today, the brother who works with me, why don't you give him a contact number? Maybe my talk could be at the mosque there, our mosque, and at the museum. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for coming out today. How did you hear about the meeting today?
Well, I've been here since Essence. I came to Essence, but I'm also working.
Okay.
There's a Muslim family, Sister Asher Muhammad, and Brother Race. They're my friends.
Okay.
So I'm actually there with them, and they actually give me opportunity to continue to be in their home and to help them from the standpoint of some work.
Okay.
So I've enjoyed being here. I've missed one Sunday, felt guilty about that, so.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank you. May Allah bless you.
you.
Assalamu alaikum. Okay, if that's the last question, okay, I want to thank you very much. Brother Willie will come back to the rostrum. I'm going to go downstairs and get set up to sign a few books. I hope you will join us down there. I can put your name in the book, or I can just sign it and the date. And if one day if I become famous, the one with just my signature is worth more than the one in. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Could they bring it in for me? Could they bring all of that in? Yeah. Thank you.
Second. Hey, Pat, can you give me this book? All right, we'll be very long. Assalamu alaikum, you all. This will be very quick. So thank you all for coming out. We want to invite you all out again on next Sunday. I'll be delivering the lecture, and the title, inshallah, of the lecture for next Sunday is What Happens When We Allow Our Fears to Override the Fulfillment of Allah's Promises to Us. So if you can get the opportunity, please come out on next Sunday at 10 a.m. And on tomorrow, we're having, normally our manhood development class is private, but it's been opened up to the public. So for the brothers who are here tomorrow at 7:30, please come out. You can enjoy, you can see the manhood development class that we have. So that's tomorrow at 7:30 p.m. Bring out your sons, uncles, everybody. You can let your male members of your family know as well. And while we're here, I want to acknowledge this brother. You may not know it, to show you how the impact that you can have on someone. I attended Live Oak Middle. If you're from Uptown, and Live Oak Middle, I attended, but I remember Dr. Devazan, he was the principal. And if you knew Live Oak Middle, listen, it was a lot of people from the St. Thomas Project, and it was nothing nice. But I thank you for your example. I remember you being in the basement. They had this big old medicine ball, and you took your jacket off and you were throwing it back and forth with the brothers. And as a teenager, that inspired me to see that example, because I didn't have a lot of good examples of men. So thank you, brother, for your example that you actually did. And also, we have our sister here. She might have left, her sister Greer. We're going to do an event. It's dealing with health and with black men. So stay tuned. We'll be giving you more information on that. We'll invite you out to our Friday and Wednesday meetings at 7:30. So if you're free, make sure you come out. And on next Saturday, we're having our monthly fish sandwich sale. So we'll have some tickets so you can actually get it and participate. And the last sandwich sale that we had, I was receiving so many text messages where people were talking about how delicious the sandwiches were. And for those who want to stay around at 1:30, God willing, we're going to I have a testimony piece where I'll be interviewing Brother Akbar about his life and some other questions as well. Make sure you stop downstairs when you get the opportunity at our bookstore so you can pick up some copies of his books and some of my books that are written about relationships. You can also get them downstairs. And if you're here, we've seen the killings that took place in the city of New Orleans. And what's interesting, what I'm finding out, brother and sister, a lot of people are more comfortable complaining about the problems. And every once in a while, I do something very simple. I post this digital flyer on social media. And I said, if you all want to do something about the violence, here's something simple that I would like you to do. Just share this flyer on social media, and you'll be amazed out of the 5,000 people I have and people, how many people don't share this flyer. And we have been able to successfully resolve 47 conflicts here in the city of New Orleans that range from simple misunderstanding to people actually being shot. Now, we will wish we can say that we can stop all of the murders, but we realize that this initiative is equivalent to someone throwing a life preserver to someone that's drowning. Our people have to grab it. We're already putting ourselves out on a line to come between some foolishness that they're involved in. So when you get ready to leave, make sure you pick a copy of this up and just pass it out or hold it, take a picture of it, and send it out to some people. You never know whose life you may be able to save, all right? And lastly, we want to thank those brothers and sisters who in the month of July were able to bring out some guests. They lead, so I'll call a name. Number one, I'm not bragging, it was me. Then we have, after that, we have a second place tie, several people, Brother Alex, Brother Carl, Brother Jason, Sister Camille, Sister Lilia, and Sister Malika. So thank you all for bringing out somebody for here. So with that being said, we're going to now rise and we'll close out in prayer. We're going to pass the chair to receptacle. Can we relieve Brother Lawrence? Brother Lawrence, you can close out in prayer. So we're going to close out in prayer after you all put that $1 million check. And the dinner sales downstairs, brothers and sisters, is pineapple habanero glazed fish over vegetable rice, seasoned green beans, green salad, homemade wheat rolls, navy bean soup, and the dessert only for $10. So make sure you stop on the way down so you can get yourself some physical food. And we thank you all for your time and for being here. And our brother's going to close out in prayer immediately after. We thank all of our guests as well for coming. So thank you all. May God continue to bless each and every one of you. Bring up our blessing.
Okay. We finished passing the charity receptacles? Great. Okay, we can stand and rise for prayer, family. Prayer. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent.